Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wow. Sister May, 50-50. Always ready, always ready. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Grand Rising, Grand Rising. We are back in business. We are back in business, y'all. Right? So we're gonna hit the ground running, right? I have made sure I have downloaded those references I wanted to show yesterday. They open, right? They're right there, and we are deconstructing and we are tearing apart the so-called Christianity, Islam. Those religions are meant to make you asleep, right? The true spirituality is within yourself, right? And when we speak of a spirituality, it's all about your inner self. If there is no inner self in this realm, so what is it, right? It's within you. And you can practice spirituality the way you want it. It shall not be dictated. It shall not be, someone somewhere shall not tell you, well, if you don't do this, you are not going to be saved. Who are they? What proof or what reference they have to show? Well, when we break down the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all we see is plagiarism and lies for the most part, right? Now, before I read this section here, I need to show the reference, right? As we always do, right? And thank you again to the sisters who are always prompt whenever they see a source on the screen. They go right on, they download it, and they post it in the Telegram group. This is greatly appreciated. It is valued, right? So thank you to those sisters who are always ready. Thank you for your promptness. Pronto, right? And these are the things we mostly see in women. I gotta be honest, right? If you want to be successful, you have to surround yourself with women. I say this, right? I always say this because I have proof for it. If you want to be a successful husband, you have to give your wife, right, her area and her freedom of thinking. And you have to put yourself in her shoe, right? And treat her the way you would have been treated, you would have wanted to be treated if you were a woman, right? So, now, reference, we're going to come right back at 37. 37, what I have highlighted there is a bomb, right? This most definitely is going to be dropped in a short video. A lot of people don't know this, right? So, reference. This is a thesis, right? This is a thesis. Theses basically are a research paper, right? Presented by a PhD or master degree student, right? And they have done an in-depth research and basically compiling a lot of information, together. The title of this thesis is, Are Jesus and the Gospel Unique? A look at the methods of comparison between Christ and other myths with an emphasis on the Isis, Osiris, Horus myth of ancient Egypt, or Kemet, by Andrew C. Bushkopf. A thesis submitted to the faculty in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Master of Divinity, right? Degree of Master of Divinity. This is going to be a great research paper, right? We are going to explore. We are not going. It's only 46 pages, but it's rich, right? Now, we're going to jump into page 37. So I hope people took a screenshot. Let me put it again on the screen, right? So people take a screenshot, right there. Now, page 37. There you go. Now, I think we are going to start reading from this section here because, yeah, man, this is so rich. This is so rich, y'all. I haven't read this whole thing yet, but what I'm seeing is just mind blowing, right? The YAHWEH-JEHOVAH. That sounds like Yesu. Damn. Now, let's start with the same names here, right? Let's go to the section same names. Beside the similarity that supposedly exists between the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus and Horus in the Isis-Osiris-Horus myth, are there any other similarity that people ascribe to the Isis-Osiris-Horus myth? There are a number of similarities which are posited. Tom Harper claims, according to the historian Herodotus, the father of history, the Egyptian Jesus, known as Ius-Aaiu-Aius. Wow. The Egyptian Jesus, known as Ius-Aaiu-Aius or Iusu. Damn. Yo. They have made up a so-called, right, blue-eyed, blonde hair Messiah, as we always seen. Invention, research, right, are always, we see the same folks trying to picture themselves as the first inventors or the discoverers of anything. But here we have a person that seems to have existed according to ancient Egyptian papyrus in the name of Ius-Aaiu-Aius or Iusu, was one of the 8 great gods. It was a god, not even a person, right? But there were obviously some people who carried that name. It sounds like Imhotep, right? Imhotep probably carried that name. So it was one of the 8 great gods. Now, when I see 8 great gods, that makes me think of what? The Okdoad, right? Who was described in papyri almost 20,000 years ago. What? We are told that Kemet is 5,000 BC. Where is Maku? Where is Maku, the Babylonian, the African who claims Babylon and Mesopotamia? Where is Maku, right? Who says that geometry was invented in Mesopotamia? Show me a record, Maku, dating 20,000 years ago in Babylon. But in Kemet, this is a research paper. This is a thesis. So this guy cannot put the 20,000 years ago if he hasn't done the research. And he's giving a reference, 105. Right there. He's giving a reference. So let me share the live in the... Oh man, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Harper assumes the following in his argument. Herodotus uses these names and refers to a person that is identified as Jesus. Number 2, the similarity of Jesus with the names Ius-Aaiu-Aius or Iusu proves that Jesus was based upon this Egyptian figure. Wow. Where are the black Christian? My African Brothers and sisters, Christian, where you at? They are quiet. There is archaeological textual evidence from 20,000 years ago. Who said Kemet or ancient Africa or the first civilization, right, is dated 5,000 BC. It goes further. And we know Egyptologists have been trying to keep African and basically history within that 5,000 timeline, because it aligns with Babylon. Once you get outside of the 5,000 BC, Babylon is almost non-existent. Each of these assumptions needs to be addressed. The first and most easily dismissed of these assumptions is that Umm-Hetep or Ius-Aaiu was in ancient papyri text from 20,000 years ago. Now, the author of this thesis goes on to say, this cannot be since A.C. Morehouse says that the earliest evidence of writing that exists is from the 3rd millennium BC. You see that? You see how Western historian and Egyptologists, like I said earlier, are always trying to bring Egypt and the history of the world within 3000 BC. So we have archaeological evidence that Mother Earth or human, right? Human beings have been around for more than 200,000 years. So why are we going to wait for the last 3,000 year BC to be able to write anything? Common sense, y'all. That's what we've been doing here. Common sense, y'all. If we've been around for 200,000 years, how come it is only so for 170, right? For 170 thousand and 200,000 year minus 3,000, right? We get 170,000, no, right? What is that? 200,000 minus 3,000. 200,000 minus 3,000, right? So we get 109. Hold on. I have a problem with the zeros. 200,000 minus 3,000. 3,000. Okay, 197,000. So for 197,000 years, human beings haven't been able to come up with any writing system. So we just had to wait for the last 3,000 years of 5,787. Yes, Shai-Arad, right? When we add 2,000 for the BC time, right? So 5,000. So what's going on here? So someone somewhere is lying. Someone been lying. And most definitely these European, these Westerns, historians have been lying. Right? Now, from the 3rd millennium BC, which is around 5,000 years ago. There you go. Right? So this is what a Western historian are saying, but we know they're lying. Right? So once it is claimed up here, right, that we have ancient Egyptian papyrus that is dated, that can be traced back 20,000 years ago, is because they have evidence of it. Right? But Egyptologists are trying to dismiss that because it's going to throw off, right, the timeline, the biblical timeline, the biblical event, right, and things like that. The next assumption that needs to be examined is that Herodotus, which is the father of history, now they're trying to contradict Herodotus, right? Right? They're trying to contradict him because he doesn't align with the Western, basically, timeline. uses these Egyptian names, and that the names proved Jesus was based upon an Egyptian figure. Iu-Imhotep is probably a form of Imhotep, who was the architect of the step pyramids at Saqqara, and who was also later deified as a god of medicine. He may be likened to Jesus in a very narrow sense, in that Jesus used his divine power to heal people. Yet this is not enough to equate Jesus to Imhotep. No, that's not what we understand here, right? So when Imhotep is mentioned here, is that, right, some of the history of Imhotep or of Imhotep has been attributed to Jesus. That's all, right? We get the point. It will be a reductionist argument to say so. That's fine. We get the point, right? We are not, the claim here from Herodotus is not to say that Imhotep or Imhotep is fully Jesus. No, they use part of the story of this person and attribute it to Jesus. We see similarity between Jesus and Horus. Does that mean that Horus was integrally 100% Jesus? No. So they combine, right? They combine multiple different stories, right, and attributed those to the fake Jesus. Now, let's just keep and go down to, let's start here. Imhotep is mentioned nowhere, and the 8 gods to which he refers are Nun, Nonet, Hu, Hohet, Kuk, Koket, Amun, Amunet, right? The Ogdoad, and I mentioned that here, like the Ogdoad, right? As for the name Iusa, according to Egyptologists, which Egyptologists? Egyptologists are liars. We know that. They have a specific agenda, right? As for the name Iusa, according to Egyptologists, so when it comes to Egyptologists, we have to be very careful. And professor at the University of Toronto, it's not because someone is professor, has a PhD or a master degree, it's not because they have those degrees that we are going to take anything they say or everything they say for granted, as if it was fact. We know they've been lying, right? So, and the saying, it doesn't even exist, reference 111. Instead, a set of questionable linguistic moves are employed. Kuhn says, for many thousands of years before Christ, the prototype of all coming Savior was the Egyptian Iusa. This is what Kuhn says. The name is from Iu, Ie, Ie, Io, or Ya, Ye, Yo, You, right? Ju, Jo, Ji, J, right? The original name of Neum, divinity, combined with the Egyptian suffix Sa, or Se, Si, Su, or Saf, Sef, Sif, Suf, meaning with the grammatical masculine F, the male higher, son, successor, or prince. According to Ron Lefrohan, it is true that Sa means son in ancient Egyptian, and Iu means to come. Iu means to come, yet the order is completely backward for Egyptian construction. No problem. We get the point. They're trying to discredit and say that Iusa has nothing to do with Yesu. It's clear. It's obvious, right? Because we are not reading within the line to believe what is written. This has been a major problem in our community, right? People always thought that because something is written in a PhD research paper or in a book, that make it a fact. No, we have to apply common sense, critical thinking, and discernment. We don't care about the PhD, the master degrees. What we care about is to critically think, critically analyze, put to the test our discernment and, right, our understanding and common sense. It instead will be suyu rather than iusu. No problem. No problem. We can read it backward because in Kemet, depending on how the hieroglyph was put down, you could have read from left to right or from left to right or from right to left, depending on the order of the glyph, right? So they're trying to come up with a reason, but some dude, right? Some folks are going to fall into this trap and say, oh, the PhD master degree research paper says that it's not Iusu, but it's Suyu. Come on, we already have the clue there. The clue is embedded right there. They're trying to play with our mind and basically trying to discredit that there's no connection, right? But there is. We have elevated our level of consciousness. We have a higher discernment, so we can sense, we can see, right, the truth, or, logically. Basically, they're trying to play with the words, right? Not only that, but the two syllables combine to form the name Iusu are found nowhere in Egyptian. No problem. Also, it should be noted that Jesus' name in English is derived from the Greek name, which is taken from the Hebrew name. Where did the Hebrew... okay, let's start again. They are saying that the name Jesus, right, in English is derived from the Greek. And that Greek name is derived from the Hebrew. Right? That means the Lord saves or the Lord's salvation. Now, here's the problem. Where does Hebrew come from? You see how they landed and they stopped at the Hebrew? Jesus is an English name, which comes from the Greek, which is taken from the Hebrew. But where does the Hebrew come from? They stop right there. Hebrew is taken from ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, and I can show the facts for it, right? So let's dive a little bit into this. Let me show you just a sneak peek of the ancient Egyptian glyph and the so-called Hebrew glyph. So it should be under okay, it should be somewhere over here. There you go. Look at that. Now, some of this are written in French language. I took this from a French book, right? But look at that. The Ankh, the position of the God. Look at that. The Aleph, Anak, Shekinah, right? Look at the Yod with the two leg. Look at the Neter and look at the Dalet, right? Look at the great God and look at Hey, right? The breath of the God. Look at that. To him, look at that. It is obvious that the Hebrew, right, so-called Hebrew words or sound are derived from ancient African language. Not even ancient Egypt. It's ancient African glyph. Because we are tied to nature. Melanin, right, is tied to nature. Even our ancient writing system is tied to what we see. We represent things the way they are presented to our eyes. Whether, you're looking into CBD, right? We have broken down a little bit in CBD. And CBD is even older than this writing system. And in CBD, right, which originated in Central Africa, right, basically you have these symbols. Even the Ankh, we've shown that. Right? Now, let's get back here. So here they're trying to trace the origin of the name Jesus, and they stop right at Hebrew. But they fail to say that that Hebrew name comes from ancient African, right? As if Hebrew was the beginning of the beginning of the word, the beginning of the origin of the word, right? Now, they're trying to discredit this. The name Jesus does not mean Son of God, right? They're saying that the Lord saves. They're saying that, oh, the Hebrew name, that means the Lord saves. The Lord is salvation. What? What? Jesus is not the Son of God? What a contradiction. Now, we are getting to, right, the place, right, I really wanted to show, at the beginning of this live session. There is also another linguistic similarity noted by Harper in his book, The Pagan Christ, which should be examined as well. He claimed, so Mr. Harper claims in his book that the title Christ is also found in Egyptian. Christ is a title, if you didn't know, right? Christ is a title, just like Moses or Moses is also a title. But Christianity and Islam, the Torah, right, they are failing to tell the people the true meaning behind the word and the true origin of the word, because it will expose their lies. Where does he see it? There is so much more to explore and share. Now, how the letters Christ, K-R-S-T, Christ, Christ, appear on Egyptian mummy coffins many centuries BCE, and how this word, when the vowels are filled in, they frequently omitted in ancient languages, is really Karast. He's trying to say that the KRST is Karast, or Christ, signify Christ. Now, however, this word is the Egyptian for burial. We're going to cross-check this information here. However, this word is the Egyptian for burial, really, and the name Christ comes from the Greek, which means the anointed one, and is the Hellenized form of the Hebrew Messiah, which also means the anointed one. Now, we're going to cross-check the information, right? Now, how do we do that? We are going to find another reference. And this reference here in page 374, right, is this book, Ancient Egypt, The Light of the World by Gerald Massey. And we found the word KRST. What are they talking about here? Now, this making of the Christ, or mummy Christ, after the Egyptian fashion is apparent in the gospel. This again denotes the making of the caressed mummy, the Christ. So we clearly seeing the KRST being linked to the title Christ or Messiah, right? And in this table here, in the appendix, in page 910, we do have Horus, who was seen or had the title of Christ. Horus the Christ. Jesus the Christ. This appendix here shows the similarity between Horus and Jesus. It's not even Egyptian. Should be African, right? African. Horus, Iu, the son of Abido, Keperi. Jesus, the good scarabæus. The scarabee. We have broken down, right, the myth or the allegory behind the scarabee. The scarabee basically is used to depict and to explain the birth of the sun every morning, the rising sun. And the scarabee is one of those animals who bury its egg at the center of a dung, right? A roll or a ball of soil rolled up with a spherical shape, and the egg is buried at the center, right? And the scarabee will roll it toward the east and bury it on the ground as if the scarabee was planting a seed. But that seed there, right, is her egg. And the baby scarabee will emerge out of the dung ball, right, fully formed, mature, ready to roll around, and 100% independent. The scarabee was used in ancient Kemet to depict what? The birth of the sun. And yesterday, what did we see? We saw that, right? The December 25th, we are told, is the birth of Jesus, but it is nothing other than the birth, right? The rebirth of the sun at the winter solstice. And the Christian clearly gave the good scarabæus title to Jesus, but in Kemet, it is well explained, right? The allegory and the natural occurring phenomena behind the scarabee, right? So this is a great book here, right? Let me put the reference on the screen again, right? Ancient Egypt, the Light of the World by Gerald Macy, right? So let's see here. Now, I want to look at the word A-A-I-U. Is it here? Okay, let's look at that here. A-A-I-U. Now, the so-called JEWS, because we're trying to explain to our black brothers and sisters who are claiming Hebrew Israelites that they are claiming a fallacy. They are claiming the falsification of the original. They are claiming, right, they are basically validating, right, the lies, right, of the invaders by claiming Hebrew Israelite. Come on, y'all. Look at the etymology and look at the origin of those words. Why are you claiming the copy instead of claiming the original, at least the original, right? Now, thus, we identify the Asgard. What a weird. The Asgard, Ius-Aaiu or Iu, an ancient Egyptian name of the As in Lower Egypt, and his followers who are Aiu by name. It sounds like AI. The followers of Iu or equal Aiu then are the Aiu or Ius, Ius, or the later JEWS. You see, when you start looking at the etymology of the words, then we are tying and we have a clue on which community back then in Africa had this title. But what does that mean? The Ius. The Ius are basically those, among those, right, of Ra. Those of Ra. When we say those of Ra, we are basically talking about those of the sun. Those who are claiming to be from the sun, who are they? They can only be melanated. And we have seen this, right? With the solar penetration, the photon, the solar radiation penetration to the core of the nucleus of the melanated being only, exceptionally, only within those who are heavily, right, the eumelanated being, or those of Ra, those of the sun. So if we really look this from a critical point of view, right, we're going to see that the true original, right, AIU, AAIU or Ius could have only been heavily, right, black melanated. But today we are seeing some folks who are claiming Hebrew Israelites, which is, right, a falsification of this group of people who used to exist, right? The whole story of the faithful Israelites who will not bow down to the gods of Egypt is told in a few words relating to the Ius or Ius in Amenta. As it is said, these are they who spoke the truth on earth and did not rise to adoration or heresies, right? So this is some quality of that community, right? And once we look at what they claim and what they stood for, they couldn't have been anything other than melanated being, right? Now, another reference of the AAIU, right? You see that? Now, amongst the glorified elect or chosen people who are the children of Ra, can European or non-melanated being claim that they are the children of Ra according to science? No. Let's prove this, right? According to science, can theo-melanated being be called or identify as the children of Ra scientifically? I'm not saying that if you are theo-melanated, you don't have the right to claim, right, to be whatever you want to claim. But I'm just saying that from a scientific point of view, it does not make sense for a theo-melanated being to claim to be of Ra. And let's prove it. We're going to prove this according with scientific document, right? With scientific data on the screen. So let me get to the slide. Now, we have seen this before. So here, the scope here right now during this, with respect to the slide you have on the screen, is to basically shed some light on who are the children of Ra. And only the melanated being could have claimed to be the children of Ra, or the children of the sun, the Makalanga. Now, a theo-melanated being do not have or do not possess, right, the dark brown pigment here, and there is no solar penetration here. Whereas in the melanated or eumelanated being, the UV exposure is beneficial, right, and has healing spiritual properties. The sun triggers the release of the alpha MSH hormone, which in turns trigger, right, solar transcription encoding, genomic stability, melanin, eumelanin production here. So clearly, according to just this simple information here, who are the children of Ra? And in addition to it, we have, right, we have the capability to ingest and to feed on the solar UV penetration all the way to the nucleus of the black woman and the black men specifically. So clearly, who are the children of Ra? The so-called, right, JEWS that we know of today, right? Can we say that they are the children of Ra? No, right? Because the same group of people, right? The same group of people are basically spraying sulfuric acid in order to generate sulfuric acid cloud in order to reflect solar radiation. So are the 21st century JEWS of today the children of Ra? No way. So when we see black folk claiming Hebrew Israelites, you have lost your damn mind. Right? The Asgard, AI, or Iu, there is a group of his defenders and followers who accompany him and who are said to rise with Ra, to rise with the sun towards the heavens, to be for him in the two sanctuaries, and to make him rise in new heaven. These are amongst the worshippers of the ass-headed god Iu, who are called Ius-Aaiu or Ius or Now we see where this word comes from. And based on the etymology of this word, what it stood for and where it came from, the people, the 21st century, JEWS don't look like what the etymology and the source of the word means, the meaning, right? And the origin of the word, once we trace this word all the way back to AIU or to Ius, we are seeing that those were the children of the sun. But once we look at the phenotype, right, and this 21st century of these folks, it has nothing to do with, right, the melanated being. So clearly, someone somewhere has been lying, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of it. Right? Now, let's get back to our slides, right? Back to the slide. So, I have presented a little bit on the crust, the KRST, right? The EU, right? And it's going to be part of a video soon, right? That is going to be dropped. So a lot of people don't know the true etymology of those words. So I think it will shed some light, and it will make the black Hebrew Israelites think twice. Right? It will make them think. All we do here is to try to trigger, right, and to troubleshoot, right, critical thinking, common sense. Like, hey, did you really take the time to look into this? Do you really see things the way it should be seen, right? That's all. Not trying to convince anybody or to prove anything. We're just sharing information. Information sharing. Now, let's go back to our slide. Where is it? It should be around here. Okay, this is the part I was looking for yesterday. This is slide 840. We're going to come back to it. Now, we've been talking a little bit about Moses, right? Moses, and we are basically deconstructing the so-called Exodus. So I think I have a slide here that basically touch on the so-called Moses splitting the water with a rod. Now, if you're Christian, seriously, do you really believe Moses used a rod to split the water into two? How can we, scientifically, is it possible? They try to reconstruct it, but it's almost impossible. So what really went down? So it could have been only an allegory, or taken from an ancient Egyptian myth, right? Or taken from an ancient Egyptian myth. Moses split the sea in two. Moving on, dry seabed. Wow. Wow. You see how even the Bible is playing with people's mind, right? And some people really truly believe that this happened. But scientifically, we don't have any data. No data to prove it. Now, so we're going to come back to that. So let's get back to our slide presentation. I think yesterday we broke down nicely, right? The yearly rebirth of the sun, right? December 25th, which is a solar event, right? And it has been attributed as the birth of Jesus. So we debunked the so-called birth of Jesus on December 25th. Does not make sense. And this is the source of some of the information that I have on the slide, right? It is in French. I'm going to be looking for the English version. I'm sure there should be an English version of this book here. So we can do yeah, I think we need to continue here, right? We need to continue in the slide. So this is the slide. So we've been trying to explain the notion of good and evil, right? The notion of good, evil, and how Mother Nature, right? Even Mother Nature and the season are all mingled with the principle of good and evil. And evil can be subjective, right? So for example, the European or the Westerner exploiting Africa, do you guys really think it's bad for them? No. According to their paradigm and what they are looking for, exploiting Africa is actually a good thing for them. But for African, it is bad. So good and evil can be subjective to a specific group of people. Yeah. No, not according to them exactly, Dashuba, right? So that's why we have to elevate our level of consciousness. Do you really think Europeans really want to stop exploiting, or stop the war in the Congo, or stop the war in Sudan? Do you really think the Arabs want to leave Africa alone? Do you really think the Chinese really want to stop having a footprint on the continent of Africa? No. So whatever we are seeing to be evil is actually good for other groups. So good and evil is subjective. So it is up to us to elevate our level of consciousness and reverse, right? Or flip the poles, or flip the poles, or flip, right, the charges, right? We can turn the minus into a plus, or change the plus into a minus and flip it around, right? That's what we need to do. We need to flip things around. Now, we're going to continue into the slide, right, which is based on Jesus Christ is, is nothing other than a solar fable or an astronomical, right, basically astronomical, phenomena, right? And it is a Roman invention to pacify souls. To pacify soul. Do you really think the Roman loved Africa so much to the point where they're going to give them the key to entering any such place called as eternal house, paradise, or have a better life in the afterlife? If someone does not treat you well while you are alive today, in this earth, in this realm, why would you think that he will bring you anything good in the afterlife? No, seriously, common sense. A group of people that has been mistreating African, black people are bringing, the same people are handing them over books, Torah, Bible, Quran, and some black people think that, these books are truly African or black people's story. No, there's a misconception behind it. Right? Now, we're going to break down the so-called sign of the zodiac and see how those signs basically tie to the coming of certain season, winter, solstice, right? Specific natural occurring phenomena, right? So let me go one slide back just to see, make sure that I didn't skip anything here. Hold on. So we were here. Okay, the solar fable. We broke down that. Yeah. So this is where we broke down the slide yesterday, right? With the 12th sign of the zodiac, right? The 12 months, right, of the year, right? And we broke that down into two groups, right? 6 months of the good principle, 6 months of what can be seen as the not good principle, right? 6 months of the good principle going through summer, and then followed by the 6 months of the evil or the not good principle, right? Tying the equinoxes in between, right? The sixth portion of the empire of a good principle included the 6 months which elapsed from the vernal equinox to that of autumn. Vernal to autumn, right? The sixth portion of the empire of the evil principle embraced the 6 months of autumn and winter, right? Right there, right? So can we say that winter season is evil and must be rebuked? Because Christianity and Islam teaches you and ask you to get rid or to get rid of evil. What if we get rid of winter? Or someone may say, I don't like summertime because the sun is degrading or causing skin cancer, right? Someone can say, I only want winter all year around. I don't want summer because the sun, right, is harming, right, the skin or causing some type of health issue to some group of people. Or can the melanated people say, oh, I don't want winter, it's too damn cold, I need the sun to penetrate my skin. So with this process here, everybody is satisfied, right? You wait for your turn, the good season, the not good season, or this can be seen as the good season for non-black folk, right? This can be pleasing and likable by other group of people, and they can see this as being evil. So, right, these are counterparts, and these could be flipped, right? Now, let's jump to the next slide that comes after this, right? Which should be now. We're going to look at the seventh sign corresponding to the scales or balance, right? Or at the first of the signs of autumn, of the season of fruit, and of winter, that they begin the empire of darkness, right? And evil. Their reign lasted until the return of the sun to the sign of the Lamb, which correspond to March and Easter. This is the basis of the theological system on the distribution of the opposing forces of the two principles, to the action of which man is subjected during each year or during each solar revolution. It is the tree of good and evil near which nature placed it. Now, religion is going to tell you in the Garden of Eden, there is the tree of good of evil. And they're gonna make the believers basically believe and that there was a garden somewhere with a tree, right, of good, of evil. But from the astronomical point of view, what is the tree of good, of evil? It is explained here. The zodiac, the coming of the season, the mechanism between the equinoxes and the solstices, right? Behave has the tree because the introduction of good is done throughout the year. The introduction of the good principle, the introduction of the evil principle, right? The knowledge of good and evil, right? It is basically the solar or the zodiac, right? Our solar system is going through that process every single year. And as we said, as above, so below. So this principle here occurring at the planetary or cosmic level is also happen within the human body. We just have to identify which principle in the human body follows, right, the solar revolution. The 6 times assigned, right, to the bad principle and its effects, which are frost. Pay attention now. We're going to break down the bad or the evil principle. The 6 times assigned to the bad or evil principle and its effects, which can be frost, snow, wind, excessive rain, cold, disorganization of plants, and so on. It is then that man knows the evils which he had ignored during the spring and summer. I remember spring and summer. In the beautiful climates of the northern hemisphere. This is the idea expressed in Genesis in the fable of the woman who, seduced by a serpent, plucks the fatal apple, which, like Pandora's box, was a source of evil for all men. So here we are breaking down the so-called apple, right? The so-called apple, right? Because the Bible is trying to depict and to show that, oh, well, there was a garden somewhere. Adam and Eve were sitting in the garden. The serpent came in and introduced and, basically taught them and instructed them to eat, right, the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So we are debunking that. All right. The supreme God first created man and bull in a high place, and they remained for 3 months without harm. These 3 months include the lamb, Taurus, and Gemini. Then they remain on earth for 3 months without sorrow or contradiction. And these 3 months correspond to Cancer, Lion, right? And to the year of the Virgin or Virgo. After this, in the 7th month, at the Libra sign, answering the scales of balance, evil appeared. Listen, introduction of evil. Evil appeared at the balance, right? When something is balanced, right, we can see a flip, right? The unbalance, or if one side is getting heavier than the other, or if a principle is taking over the other one, right, then the balance will shift, right? It can be evil can appear, or, right, good can appear. In this case, following this trend here, right, at the Libra sign, evil appeared, and the man began to plow. Then came Seth, who gave birth to evils and battles in the 7th month, that is, under the scales on which the heavenly serpent is placed. The heavenly, not a physical serpent, not a physical big serpent in the garden rolled up on a tree, right? Then was produced the mixture of good and evil. For it was here that the limits of the empire of the two principles met. There was the point of contact between good and evil. Good and evil cannot be separated. Right there. In the allegorical language of Genesis, it was there that the tree of knowledge of good and evil was planted. We thought that there was a garden somewhere. There were multiple trees in that garden. And somewhere in the garden, there was a specific tree of good, of the knowledge of good and evil. But it looks like it wasn't really a physical tree. It was an allegory. And this allegory here is being explained and broken down scientifically, astronomically explained. Which man could not touch without passing. Look at that. That tree of the knowledge of good and evil was planted, which man could not touch without passing at once under the dominion of the evil principle. You cannot go through summertime without going through wintertime. You go through a bad, good, and so on, right? So, which man could not touch without passing at once under the dominion of the evil principle, to which belonged the signs of winter and autumn. Right? Let me bring that picture again here, 775, which is this one. This one needs to be here to explain and to illustrate the passage, right? Under the dominion of the evil principle, to which belong the sign of winter and autumn, right? Winter, autumnal equinox, winter solstice. And each of this quadrant here has specific season, specific fruit, specific weather, specific winter, specific climate, and things like that. Up to that time, man, or he had been the favorite of heaven. Osiris, right, which is a principle, had showered him with all his possessions. But this good God had inset a rival and an enemy, right there, who was to poison his most precious gift, and man became the victim of it. At the time of the retreat of the god of the day to the southern, right, to the southern climes, right? Now, we're going to explain that picture later. Let's move these out of the way. We're almost done with the slide. Now, yeah, right there. Set under the ascendancy of the serpent of the constellation. Serpent of the constellation. Right? Serpent of the constellation. 775. Let me grab this. Yeah, let's grab this one to optimize the slide and to show what the serpent we're referring to could be looking like, right? So when we plot the data, once we plot the data scientifically, we look at the data, the course of the sun or the course of the earth within, right, crossing or passing in front of each of the 12 constellations. It leaves behind, right, a snake tail, right, passing in front of each of the 12 constellations, leaving behind a snake tail with a head. So we're going to leave this one here and that one here. This is the theological idea of Genesis. You see that? So this theological idea or meaning or definition of Genesis is not explained in the Bible or the Quran, right? But instead, they're going to make you sleep with, mysteries, things that do not add up and that do not make sense, because they want to put forth a specific ideology. It follows, according to the formal terms of this cosmogony, that the evil introduced into the world is winter. According to this cosmogony, what we've been broken so far, the evil here, right, The evil introduced into the world is winter at the solar scale. At the planetary scale, we also see good and evil principle occurring. And that's what we're seeing also at the human level, right? We're seeing also good and evil happening within people. But what we see has evil or good, right? It can be subjective, right? But at the planetary system here, right, winter is the introduction of evil. Summer is the introduction of good and evil principle, opposing forces, right? These are allegory, right? Natural occurring phenomena turn into, Moses, at the creation, at the beginning, God created Adam and Eve and blah, blah, blah. And I've shown you a reference 2 days ago that the so-called biblical Adam, according to the Sabians, had a father and a mother. The so-called Adam and Eve being spoken about in the Bible, according to the Sabian knowledge, they had a father and a mother. And I showed the book and I showed the reference, right? How can you be... Anyway, let's just move on. Who will be the repairer? So Genesis, Christianity or Islam or the J faith, they need to basically to create a problem and to come offer a solution. So they created a problem, and then now they need to proclaim or to select or to introduce a repairer, a Messiah. The God of spring or the sun in his passage under the sign of the Lamb, whose forms the Christ of Christians takes, for he is the Lamb who repairs the misfortunes of the world. Now, this is the very first version of the King James Bible that I found very interesting, right? And we are going to break down, we're going to try to break down this section here, right? Because we see this cross here, the Southern Cross. We see the Lamb, the Lamb under the Southern Cross, right? We see the 12 sign of the zodiac. 1, 2, 3. 3 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 months. From autumn to vernal. The autumn equinox to the vernal equinox, going through the winter, right? Winter solstice. The Southern Cross. We've seen that. And then 3 months later, right, we have that. So the Passover, Easter, right? Now, and this is the front, right? The front page, the cover page of the King James Bible, right? Before this version of the King James Bible, he wrote a book on demonology, right? So we're coming back to that. But we are clearly seeing even the Bible, right? This cover page being tied to astronomical data, but they depicted, blonde, blue-eyed folks, as being, heavenly prophets, right? Do you see a black person in this picture? No. Right? But you're going to see some black folks saying that, the Bible is an African history book. After knowing and seeing and showing evidence that it's been falsified. It's not the same, right? It is evident that we are dealing here only with the physical and periodical, right, evil, the effects of which the earth experiences every year through the retreat of the sun, the source of life and light for all that inhabits the surface of our globe. Now, at what epoch of the annual revolution does the celestial serpent, united with the sun, ascend to the horizon with this aster? It was when the sun arrived at the balance, Libra, scales, over which the constellation of the serpent extends, that is, at the seventh sign from the lamb, or under the sign of the beginning of the reign of the evil principle, that the introduction of evil into the universe took place. The cosmogony of Genesis depicts the serpent with man and woman, which is nothing else than, right, a cosmic, right, a cosmic or a cosmogony, right? It is an astronomical event, right, taking place in the universe, in our solar system, and further, right, and also within the human body, because whatever happened right above happened below. Whatever happened in our solar system also happened within the human body. We just have to identify which principle does it. So, Libra, right? Libra is here. Let me see if I have another depiction here of that. This one is the solstices and equinox, right? Winter solstice, December, right? Vernal equinox, right? Heading towards the winter solstice, where the sun is going to get stuck in the Southern Cross, right? Winter, the introduction of evil. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't showing. Winter, the introduction of evil, right? The evil principle, the good principle, plus, minus, right? Or plus, minus, right? Opposing forces, right? Now, so the whole game of the Bible and the Quran is to play with people's mind, right? It's basically to make you asleep. They make you asleep, basically. And they're trying to guarantee eternal life or life after life, and the promising that your sin are going to be forgiven. Really? What happened? How did I get on this slide here? 775. Hold on. 775. Right. Now, let's take a few minutes here to look through the chat, right? Let's look through the chat and see if I'm not really good at monitoring the chat and doing live. That's one of my weakness. Yeah, thank you for sharing the live. Good Grand Rising, JR, Mate, and everybody else. Grand Rising. I'm seeing Grand Awakening. Okay, the concept of what is accepted as evil seems Eurocentrism. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Lee. Yeah, evil can exist, or evil cannot be defined even as evil if there is no the opposite or the opposing side of it, right? Yeah. Okay. Dashuba said, "I am mind blown." Yeah, these slides here have been put together like for over 2 years, but I never really gone through it, right? Because I mean, it's like every time, I have so much topic over here that sometimes I'm even confused on which one I should be presenting. Okay, so it looks like, it's looking good in the chat as always, so it's looking good in the chat. So, but let me know if there's any concern or if I missed something, right? If someone might have said or show something that can be relevant or important, remind me. Okay. Coffee break. Cheers to anybody holding a coffee cup or drinking coffee or tea, cheers. Beer, alcohol is prohibited, right? It should be banned. I'm telling you, it should be banned. It should be banned. It makes you, basically, it puts your soul and your spirit at sleep, right? It kind of like, how can I say that? You are no longer your true self under the influence of alcohol. I'm telling you. You may feel relaxed or having like people say, a glass of wine. No, I'm telling you. If I had the power to ban alcohol in the continent of Africa, I would have done so. I'm telling you. I was there in the past 3 weeks, and it is sad. It is sad to see people spending most of the time, right, in bars, drinking beer. And what kind of beer? The beer full of chemicals, right? They have the impression that, well, they have a feeling good, basically sense of life, but is basically masking the true, I don't know how to say it, but it was sad. It's something that really upset me, to see a lot of people spending times in bars drinking beer for the most part. Yeah, demons. Yeah. I mean, the only form of beer or traditional drink that I really enjoy is the one made with the millet grain, right? The millet grain. That drink, y'all. I've been drinking so much of that traditional brew, right? It's naturally fermenting. You can drink it sweet, right? No sugar is added. It turns sweet, right? It makes you active. It makes you aware. It's not the same as beer. Yeah, millet. Yeah, very tiny grain. That grain is powerful. And and I have it like even right now. The millet powder, you mix it with hot water, and you put a little bit of honey or sugar or lemon. Man, it keeps you like, you don't feel the need to eat all day. I have it here. I'm shaking it. I can't wait for this to cool down so I can start drinking it. The millet, right? The millet is a powerful grain. Yeah. I also brought back some Artemisia. I don't know if you heard about Artemisia. Man, guys, if you are a guy, be careful if you gonna make Artemisia tea. I'm telling you, you need to be careful, because that Artemisia tea, and I think they banned it, right? But I found a way to smuggle it. I usually smuggle African spice, African tea, African herbs, to make my tea. I'm loaded right now with the African stuff. They asked me at the immigration, sir, welcome back to the United States. Are you bringing any foreign products coming from foreign lands in your bag? I said, no, sir. Are you sure if we check your bag, are we not going to see anything like that? I said, sir, the bag are right there. Go ahead and, go through it, Yeah. So, yeah, Milade Artemisia. My favorite is Artemisia, man. Artemisia. I think the World Health Organization banned it during the C19, right? During the C19, yeah, they banned it. Powerful plant, but you have to know where to get it, because if you go on Amazon, I'm not sure if it's going to be a good strain or a good quality. It doesn't taste, it's not sour, it's not bitter, it's just normal, but it's really powerful. Now, let's see here. So we got to that slide, and now I think we've done this. The tree of life. What is this? Now, we are going to try to look into a different source and try to understand what is really the tree of good of evil, and where and how in the human body it can manifest. We have shown, right, some astronomical, right, event, right, occurring in our solar system or universe, basically explaining the introduction of good and evil, right? Now, we're going to look at the human body, because what happened above must be happening below, right? And the source here, that I'm going to be looking into a source. I'm going to present the source, the book. Again, even though the source here is going to pinpoint to a specific scientific event happening in the human body and mimicking the tree of knowledge of good of evil, that does not mean that it is 100% fact. We're still trying to piece things together by bringing in scientific data, right? But here we have a source that pinpoints the event happening in the human body, mimicking, right, the tree of good and evil. We need more data here, but I'm going to present it, right? And this is page slide 778, and let me go to a slide where I have so the reference of the book is here, so I'm going to grab these two, right? I have presented this before, and let's go back to this level here. And let's put this one down here. Let's paste this reference here. Let's shift it right there. Now, Now, so before we do that, right, we go here. Let's quickly read this slide here. I don't think we touched that. I read this one. I thought I did, right? It is at the seventh sign corresponding to balance or Libra scales, or at the first of the sign of autumn, of the season of fruit and winter, that they begin the empire of darkness and evil, right? So basically it's showing you where the evil and the good principle starts and how they can be the conception basically between the two, right? In the first and second chapters of Genesis, they recognize a hidden and allegorical meaning which they say must be careful not to interpret to the vulgar, to hide the meaning and not to lift the allegorical veil which hides the truths it contains. Yes, the veil must not be lifted. Once you are able to do that, then you're out of it. Whoever guesses its true meaning must be careful not to divulge it. It seems absurd to take these stories literally. The adventure of Eve and the serpent, as well as in the earthly paradise, are only allegorical fictions. Where are the Christian and Muslim, man? I know that they're in the chat, but they've been quiet, man. I know they're like, damn, I can't believe I've been believing this thing here, right? It's okay. You're going to be fine. Since Christ, reparation, see that? Since Christ, reparation for evil had to be a historical fact. Pay attention now. Christ's reparation, salvation for evil had to be or must be a historical fact. They have to make it be a historical fact. The adventure of Adam, Eve, and the serpent had to be a historical fact as well. How do they make it factual? Well, for one, is essentially linked to the other. Hence, the need to resort to allegorical explanation to save so many absurdities. It is impossible to preserve the literal meaning without wounding pity, without attributing unworthy things to God, which it is absolutely necessary for the honor of Moses. The honor of Moses who lied about Genesis and his history to have resource to allegory, right? We've been proving, and we're going to continue to do that, to prove that Moses is a fake figure invented by the so-called oppressor invaders. What man is so blind as to believe that God, making the character of a gardener, planted a garden in the east, that the tree of life was a true, sensitive tree, physical tree, whose fruit had the virtue of preserving life? The need to reason rather than to believe. The need to reason rather than to believe and to lift the allegorical veil is imposed. That's what we're doing. We have had enough of these lies, so that veil must be lifted. Indeed, if the fault is not real, what happens to the reparation? If the fault is not real, what happens to the reparation? or if the facts happen differently from what the text of Genesis announces, what confidence can be given to an author who deceives from the first pages? And whose work nevertheless serves as the basis of the religion of the Christians, Muslim, Hebrew. They have grafted to man the guilt of original sin. We were told that we were born in sin, really, and offered man reparation through Christ. So, this section here is from Stolen Legacy, and this book has been, I'm talking about this newspaper, this screenshot here, and this book here has been posted in the Telegram group, right? The creation story. This is from the book called Stolen Legacy. Great book, right? Great book, right? Basically, the Genesis is debunked here, right? Genesis gone. Now, going back to what could be the allegorical natural occurring phenomena within the human body, right? The source of this information here is from this book called The Antichrist by George W. Carey, right? And we are going to slowly and carefully look into the information here, right? And we are going to try to bring scientific data in order to verify or to cross-check the information provided here, right? In part 1 of this book, right? We can start here. Primitive Christians, the Essenes, fully realized and taught the great truth that Christ was a substance. That Christ was a substance. An oil or ointment contained especially in the spinal cord. We thought that Christ was crucified in Golgotha. But here we have another primitive version of Christian called the Essenes, who are saying that, and who were teaching the great truth that Christ was a substance, an oil or ointment contained especially in the spinal cord, consequently in all parts of the body, as every nerve in the body is directly or indirectly connected with the wonderful river that flows out of Eden. The upper brain, the Ori. River that flows out of Eden, the upper brain, to water the garden. Damn. Now, if this information here, y'all, because we've been saying that it's all about the human body, it's all about yourself, it's all about, right, your Ori. Your Ori. But instead, the Vatican, the Quran, the Torah is teaching you that, there's a Christ somewhere and he's coming back. The early Christians knew that the scriptures, whether written in ancient Hebrew or the Greek, were allegories. What happened then? The Vatican took these and rewrote it, right? And given them very specific, names of the prophet, and as if they existed. Parables or fables based on the human body, fearfully and wonderfully made. These adepts knew that the secretion, gray matter, creative that issues secretes from the cerebrum or cerebrum. Damn, we are going back to the brain. The Ori was the source and cause of the physical expression called man. The cherubim is nothing other than man. Slide 778. I think we need to look into what we have shown when it comes to the cherubim, right? And this is the conclusion we had from this book here. We presented this information before. The cherubim of glory in the Holy of Holies represented what? Man, yourself, right? They've been saying, oh, angels, right, the kingdom of the Lord and things like that. But the cherubim is nothing other than yourself, your inner self. The 12 sign of the zodiac, the 12 constellation, right? This controls the 12 nerve system. The 12 nerve system. And the Yoruba conception of the Ori comes in and cement, right? Basically, we know this. We knew this from the Ori, right? Your personal Orisa. Your personal Osari. If you take the SA and you put it after the O, you have Osari. Consciousness, destiny, human soul, and ancestral guardian angel. Someone somewhere has been lying, big time, right? We are deconstructing while offering level of understanding. We are not just saying, oh, Christianity, the Torah, religion, Islam, or the Quran are fake. Or no, we are showing what is fake in it, and we are bringing information to help the people understand what it stood for or where it came from. Right? The 4 sons of Horus, we've broken this thing down, right? Sitting on top of the lotus, representing the 4 cardinal point. The 4 days of the week in the old African calendric system or Yoruba system, right? Counting of the time, right? This is your true self, your inner self. The cherub, the cherubim, is your true inner self and nothing else. The pineal gland, we did this work. The pineal gland and the lotus opens up towards the source of light. And the pineal gland secretes serotonin during sunrise and melatonin during sunset to help you sleep. So the brain is clearly regulated and synchronized to the circadian system. Through the cycle of the moon, we have 28 U-rays up here for the 28 days of the month. And we have the 4 days here of the week. 28 divided by 4, we got the 7. 7 in ancient African writing system and language called CBD, not even hieroglyph. Because before the hieroglyph of Kemet, we had in CBD, the oldest writing system, right? Only taught to those who went through some level of initiation, right? In CBD, Asa, the number 7, sitting on the throne, followed by the number 8, Asato, Aset, Aseta. So when we go further back and looking deeper into African spirituality, we see that these things here comes from African spirituality, not the other way around. Not the other way around. Right? Now, the cross, Golgotha, the medulla oblongata, the rivers, splitting right? The four rivers. That's basically what we are seeing a little bit into what we are reading, right? So let's get back to where we were at here, right? And let's continue to break that down. Hold on. Where was it? Right here. Right? These adepts, oh yeah, we read it, and they knew that the river of Jordan, okay, and they knew that the river of Jordan was symbolized in the spinal cord. The Kundalini, right? We're gonna get to it, right? Now, the so-called river of Jordan was symbolized in the spinal cord, and that the Dead Sea was used to symbolize the sacred plexus. At the base of the spinal column, where the Jordan spinal cord ends, typifying the entrance of Jordan into the Dead Sea. Okay. Hold on. 778. I think I got a slide. The spinal cord. And at the base, even scientifically, y'all, look at that. This is the base of the spinal cord. Right? It looked like a serpent, right? Serpent tail. This is the tail of the serpent. But look at the name of the different sacral canal. What? Sacral. Sacred. Sacral. Hiatus. Right? Dorsal sacral for foramina. What? Foramina. For Amani, Amane, Amen, Amun, Amun, right? We're gonna look into it, right? And when it comes to the chakra, when we talk about the solar plexus, right? We're gonna look into it. How do we know the chakra is a fact? We did the series of live on melanin. Right? We learn about the human biofield surrounding, right, the human body. And we, in the lab, special equipment can be used to look through the human body. And then there will be a reflection of 7 lines surrounding the human body. It's scientifically proven, and we have shown that. Each of those 7 lines surrounding the human body in the shape of a circle can be tied to this level of chakras, amongst which we have the solar plexus. The solar plexus is interesting here. We're going to see what is that substance or that liquid called Christ oil that travels, right, from the base here all the way to the brain, mimicking the course of the sun throughout the 12th sign of the zodiac in 365 days. Right? So there's a correlation there. A big correlation. And we are start to see, right, something. And I got something else that I wanted to show. Is it here? Is it here? Hold on. The solar plexus at the base. Yeah, we're gonna look at this one too, right? I'm looking for something specific, y'all. Give me a second here. This is the nerve system of the body, right? It looks like the tree of life, You know, it looks like it's bushy with the branch, the tree, you know, things like that. And the fruit, right, is going to mature in the brain, right? So I think it's this one. Yeah, I think it's this slide here. The spine. Now, what I've shown you earlier with the 7 point or the 7 area of the chakra, right? Now, this is from a scientific paper, the chakra position in supposed relation to nervous plexus, right? And then we have the split plexus, solar plexus, right? This is just to corroborate and to make sure that, you know, the information is accurate, right? So this is interesting here. And here we have how many dots in red? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, nice. Right? So, yeah, we're going to get to this, but before we get there, we have to take it slow, right? We cannot skip, right? But we're going to see what natural occurring phenomena in the human body follows, right? The serpentine, right? Twisting against each other and meeting or, you know, manifesting up here, right? In the brain, right? Is it proven scientifically? Because in my life, I'm not going to just mention things like this and let it go without bringing scientific data into it, because you know, we need to be credible, and we need to basically help the people to elevate their level of consciousness and to better understand what their body is really capable of doing, right? Now, 775, hold on. 775. Okay. Oh, was it 55? Okay. Now, so we are basically tearing apart the so-called Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil at the cosmic level, planetary level, and then we taking down to the human body, and we're seeing some stuff here, right? The thick, oily, and salty substance composing the sacral plexus, cauda equina, tail of the horse, may be likened unto crude petroleum, petra, mineral, or salt, or oleum, Latin for oil, and the thinner substance, oil or ointment in spinal cord, may be compared with coal oil. And when this oil is carried up and crosses the Ida and Pingala, two fluid nerves that end in a cross in medulla oblongata. So we have to look at the anatomy of the human brain and find the location of the medulla oblongata where it contacts the cerebellum. Golgotha, the place of the skull. This fluid is refined as coal oil is refined to produce gasoline, a higher rate of motion that causes the ascension of the airship when the oil is crucified. Uh-oh, thank you. I heard a sound. I'm not used to that sound, but thank you. When the oil is crucified, to crucify means to increase in power 1,000-fold, not to kill. It remains 2 days and a half. 2 days and a half. That's familiar with 3 days. 2 days and a half is the 3 days. The moon's period in a sign, we know for a fact that the human body is synchronized to the moon cycle, the solar cycle, the star cycle, the constellation cycle, right? Through what we call biosynchronization, right? Or circadian, right? Circadian rhythm. In the tomb, cerebellum, the cerebellum here is going to be the tomb. And on the third day, ascends to the pineal gland that connects the cerebellum with the optic thalamus, the central eye in the throne of God, that is the chamber overtopped by the hollow caused by the curve of the cerebellum, the most high of the body, which, listen, the most high of the body, which is the temple of the living God. Yourself is the temple of the living God. Your body is a temple, the living vital substance, which is a precipitation of the breath of life. Now, this is a lot, and we need to bring in scientific data. This is the reason why this section has been made, to bring in the scientific data and to show the different section they mentioned: medulla oblongata, the cerebellum, Golgotha, right? The place of skull. Now, we need to look at the brain anatomy before moving on. That has been too much information, right? Now, we are not just going to believe anything that we read. We need to make it make sense by looking at the anatomy of the human brain, the human spine, right? The human reproductive system, right? Things like that. So I'm trying to find the section depicting the medulla oblongata, right? It has caught our attention. And we need to see the so-called, let me bring it to front. Now, we even have, from a scientific viewpoint, area and region that has the name pyramid. That's interesting. Now, the nerve, vagus, right? Flocculus of cerebellum, right? Cerebral. We even have a cerebral cross. Not the cross has C-R-O-S-S, but crus or cross. Okay, interesting. So I'm looking for specific names that we've read in that section, right? So maybe not here, but I know I've seen the medulla oblongata. Let me find. Okay, we have one candidate here. Hold on. The 12th nerve system, right? The 12th cranial nerve system. And right. Okay. Let's look at what is this one here. Bring to front. The name is not legible because of the font. That's okay. So let's move on to this one. The cherub. I'm trying to find the best brain anatomy that will basically depict most of the names or the word that were mentioned in the section that I just read. And we're going to look at the geometry, the positioning, and see and make it make sense, right? It looked like a bush, a garden, right? And the fruit, right? The fruit falling, right? Okay. Oh, medulla oblongata, cerebellum, right? Corpus callosum. Interesting. Medulla oblongata, again here, connected to the pituitary gland. What does the pituitary gland does? We learned this. The pituitary gland is where the alpha MSH hormone that instruct, right, the that instruct the melanocyte to manufacture melanin, the dark brown pigment, is instructed. The pituitary gland manufacture that hormone. Interesting. The pineal body is synchronized to sunrise and sunset. Interesting, right? And the whole is within the brain. Man, it is so amazing to see how, to have a clear, we are starting and beginning to have a clear understanding of how our brain and our body works. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to know these things, right? Just to know it puts you in a different position. It puts you at a different level, right? And knowing your true self. Now, let me find that brain anatomy. So my apology here. Let me flip this, rotate, bring to front. Let's rotate this. Let's rotate. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I did something here. Let me rotate that. The names. Yeah, the name. Okay, maybe I need to just. Yeah, there you go. Bring to front. So we have the medulla, the cerebellum, the pineal gland, the optic nerve, hypothalamus, ventricle, cerebrum, choroid plexus, right? The pons, the medulla, right? This, right? Let's not rush, guys, because this is gonna be a huge, big prerequisite into what's coming, into understanding, right? The further and better the material coming up in the future. We need to pay attention and to start looking offline. After the live, Google all of these things and start looking into it, right? It's going to be major into understanding a certain principle that will be explained here, right? So, I appreciate your patience, right? Into just browsing through this thing. I'm trying to find the best anatomy here, depicting those section apart. And we're going to touch on the cerebrospinal fluid, CSF circulation system, right, through the body. It is a specific substance that flows within the spine to the brain and nowhere else. It's very specific to this location here, brain, spine, and it's being renewed, right? It goes through a cycle. It's called the cerebrospinal fluid circulation system, right? Okay. So let's go to, okay, this anatomy here. We're going to get to it. It's not the time yet. Now, you see, I read some information from a book, but does that make it a fact? Not yet. We learn about, the Christ world traveling from the solar plexus in 2.5 days. After 3 days, we see some numbers trying to, it looks like it's connecting, or it's trying to connect to something. But is it a fact yet? The information I just read, not yet. That's why I always say, we need to be patient, right? Until we have all the facts. We need to make it make sense, right? And if we don't have the facts, we're going to just continue to dig into it, right? So now, you see, We are not just looking for information that will go our way or that will corroborate what we've been saying. No, we are also looking at the information going against what we are talking about. One of them is here. And this one goes against the section that I just read, right? Is there a 29.5-day cycle of neurotransmitter release from the colostrum in our brain? According to multiple spiritual websites, there is a 29.5 cycle in human body. Every 29.5 days, a seed is born that gives you with an opportunity for a psychological and spiritual rebirth. That's the claim. Beginning around age 12 every month, when the moon enters your sun sign, Vedic or through sidereal, your colostrum, located in your cerebrum, acts like an antenna and picks up on the incoming frequency from the sun reflected by the moon. There can be some truth in this. There can be some level of truth here, but we are being very cautious not to take anything for granted, not to just believe because someone said it or someone said he experienced it. But we need to bring all the possible scientific fact to it, right? These energetic frequency initiate two process. A neurotransmitter is released from your colostrum that signals your pineal and pituitary gland to release their sacred secretion. We know there's some level of truth here because we've seen the pineal gland, right, secreting serotonin and melatonin, right, based on sunrise and sunset. That's a fact. We also seen the pituitary gland secreting the alpha MSH hormone and the ACTH hormone to instruct melanin production in the melanocyte. That's a fact. We know that. We've shown the scientific data. In addition to it, there are other claims that are being made here called the sacred secretion. Could those secret secretion be melatonin, serotonin, or the alpha MSH or ACTH hormone? If so, then this can be true, right? But what secretion are they talking about here? The sacred secretion from your colostrum is then differentiated into electric and magnetic portions by both glands and is referred to as the Christos well or chrism well. This is what we're trying to understand. They are not saying that this is serotonin, melatonin, alpha MSH, or ACTH, but they call it the Christ oil, the Christos oil, the chrism oil. We are trying to get to the bottom of this. What is that oil? Where is it manufactured? What is the path, the journey? Right? And how often is it produced? We know serotonin, we know melatonin, we know alpha MSH hormone and ACTH hormone. But what is the Christos oil? Which is the claim from the book I was just reading out to you. And like I said, it's not because we're reading something from a book that makes it a fact. We need to get to the bottom of it. This is about our body. So we cannot play with things, right? We cannot just assume things, right? We want to be credible. An energetic seed. What is the energetic seed? Or psychosomatic germ is pulled from the vibrational frequencies flowing through your cerebrospinal fluid that keep you stuck in your reptilian brain. Fight, flight, freeze, and locked out of your holy temple, body, and divine mind. There are some level of truth here, but it's still not clear. Does this have a scientific basis? This is the question we are also asking ourselves. Is there any scientific basis in this claim here? Which is also a claim going towards the book I was just reading, right? Now, someone responded here. I found that the human body might react to the lunar cycle in some way. We know that. In this study, menstruation was linked to the new moon. Since the lunar cycle is 28 days or 29.5 days, that could be related to this question. So, the menstrual cycle and other cycle, or the serotonin, melatonin, alpha MSH, ACTH hormone, right? We've seen some the circadian rhythm of the human body being synchronized to sunrise, sunset, right? Light, darkness, right? But here we are paying specific attention of this Christ well or Christos. I heard some people on TikTok talking about these things, right? But they did not explain what it really is, right? So we are not going to just, assume things or just accept it because someone mentioned it somewhere in the book or someone said that he experienced it. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. We are trying to find scientific data, right, to basically to back up these claims. And if we are not finding it, then we're going to just stick to what we know: melatonin, serotonin, alpha MSH, ACTH, right? Now, let's see here if I can find brain anatomy. Okay, so yeah, this is our train of thought here, right? We are not just picking and choosing what we need to stick with it. No. So let's see. Let's look at this one, medulla oblongata, right? And we're gonna go back to the text. So, sacred secretion, Christ well, and okay. So it could be in this slide. Let's look at this one again. The pond. Okay. Accessory nerve. Okay, yeah, we see something here. This nerve here crossing, right? The medulla oblongata is somewhere here. And we are told that it is crossing the vagus nerve, right? The vagus nerve, right? We have the facial nerve, vagus, okay? Vagus X nerves, right? This section here. So when you go across, right, and then you have the facial nerve and this nerve here, basically, right, going across, right? Because the so-called, there are two nerves that meet or that cross each other at this location here. Right, at this location here, right there, somewhere here, right? We can clearly see that there is a cross right there, right? It's happening somewhere here. So the book from which I was reading earlier is stating, or basically talking about the Golgotha, which is the place of skull, the entrance to the cranium, or the crane, right? The cranial, and it's mentioning the medulla oblongata, which is somewhere here, crossing with the vagus nerve, right? So they're making reference to that. Now, let's see here if I have something else. We're going to break down all of these, right? So this is also the opportunity to show you a sneak peek and showing you that we do have scientific data that will be presented in order to substantiate or to back up, basically certain claims. So this one is about the weighing of the heart, the judgment hall. Oh man, we broke down so nicely. The cross, we know that this is fake, right? What is happening in the real life, right, is the cross, the sun being stuck at the southern cross, right, the southern hemisphere, right, for 3 days. For 3 days, right? We broke down the judgment hall, and we're gonna come back to it. Let's see here. Okay, I think we got something here. Let's look at this one. Thalamus, brain stem, hypothalamus. Okay. And we're going to break down all of these words, right? What is the thalamus? What is the brain stem? Because how can we pretend to know who the creator is if we are not trying to understand the fruit of creation, or some of the things that exist around us, or at least how certain part of our body works? Because the more you understand how your own self and your own body operates, puts you, basically elevate your level of consciousness more than picking a book and reciting verses that do not make sense, right? So what we are doing here right now is spirituality, right? This is our form of spirituality, by learning factual, real stuff about our own self, and not picking up verses and books that speak about nonsense that has basically nothing directly tied to the human body or to the cosmos or to the universe. Nothing like that. No, my brain cannot process that type of information, unfortunately, right? It has to start with the physical, the things that we know, right? So pineal gland, we're gonna bring the circadian system. We are regulated, man. And Ifa is gonna come back again, man. So much stuff. Okay, let's look at is it this one? The nerve system here. Okay. The brain, the cross, tree of life. Okay, we're gonna come back to that. I'm putting everything here, y'all. Like, you know, everything from everywhere, and just trying to break things down, right? To be able to comprehend without anybody trying to make up things and basically force belief on people. The worst thing is to force belief on people, right? Because belief basically means to accept something without any requirement for any proof. Okay, vagus. So we have the location of the vagus here, right? You see the vagus going across in purple, right? Right? And the medulla oblongata is that, right? So according to the section I was reading earlier, there is clearly a cross section, or those two area forming a cross, right? Now, from the same book I was reading earlier, right? The seed born every 28 and 1/2 days. This is what? The cycle of the moon. The 28 days is what? The moon cycle. Making 13 in 365. That is 13 months. The Yoruba calendar is based on 13 months. Each of those 13 months have, right, a 7 week. Each of those week have 4 days. Perfectly aligned, right, with the Yoruba calendric system. Remains 2.5 days, in Bethlehem. But Bethlehem here, we are told, is the house of bread. Then is carried up normal or vagus, right? We are going to carefully and slowly, right, trying to see scientifically if the claim here makes sense, right? Now, the vagus, right, gastric nerve, and across the medulla oblongata and enters the cerebellum to remain 2.5 days. Thus, when Jesus was about 12, he appeared in the temple teaching the doctors. The age of puberty is about 12. Then the firstborn seed appears, and the sensation caused by its vibration tempts the native on the lower plane to do the things that slays it, which is fully explained in Genesis by the serpent, sex desire, tempting Adam and Eve, allegorical characters. So here, they're clearly stating that even Adam and Eve, as we have been debunking, are allegorical characters. From Krishna, Christ, Krish, to Moses and Jesus, serpents and pharaohs and Herods have striven to slay the firstborn. From the age of 12 to 30 in the life of Jesus, nothing is recorded. Any Christian, Muslim, or Hebrew Israelites in the chat, can you provide, is it possible to find information or a book relating, right, the life of Jesus between the age of 12 to 30? We need that, please. Right? And 30 or 3 means physical, mental, and spiritual. Body, flesh or soul, fluids and spirit, the ego. Now, we can look at this. So here he's talking about, so at the age of 30, Jesus, the seed, Jesus or Christ is seen as the seed. In ancient Kemet, what is also seen as the seed? Horus, the seed of Osiris, or Isis, the seed of Geb, right? So the so-called Messiah or Jesus or blah, blah, blah is nothing other than the seed, was the son of man, just like every man carry a seed. Now, I disagree a little bit on the seed thing, right? But we understand the concept here of the seed, right? Because the seed cannot manifest and cannot mature if it's not for what? The capacitation from the woman. The woman is the one, right, would take the seed of man to maturity. And I have shown that here, right? Let's correct these information here, right? Let's go to our famous judgment hall of Osiris and let's look at the capacitation, right? Because sometimes men brag around too much about, oh, I got the seed, but that seed and nothing if it's not for the capacitation process, right? Getting your seed mature by, right, the woman, right, reproductive system. Capacitation, scientific. Let's look into it. What is capacitation? Functional process and final step in sperm maturation that takes place in female genital duct and requires contact with secretion of female oviduct. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Where the men's at? The men's who brag too much around about my seed, that seed, and nothing until it has found its way within the secretion of female. See that? Capacitation. And we see that principle of capacitation even in the judgment hall of Osiris, the maturation process, or in the Bakongo or Congo Dikenga, right? The Congo Dikenga is so powerful, right? It shows all of this. Now, we've been breaking down nicely in the judgment hall of Osiris, right? It depicts natural occurring phenomena in the cosmos, in the universe, in the solar system, and also in the human body. You see, the sun, the birth of the sun at the Southern Cross after the balance. You remember when we read, right, at the balance, at the scale, Libra, in the zodiac, Libra, at the scale, the Southern Cross, the sun gets stuck for 3 days. December 22, 23, 24, and then December 25th, the sun is reborn and continue its course. But when we look at the scale, the Ankh, also the symbol of balance and harmony, balance, stability, and harmony, right? Ani is falling, fall season. From this level to that level, during the fall season, the trees are losing their leaves, right? 3 months later, the winter solstice, the sun is reborn. Just like the so-called man seed are deposited in the woman reproductive system in the order of millions, but only 1 or 2 get selected, pass the test, the Passover. 3 months later, after the winter solstice, we have Easter or the Passover. And 3 months from there, right? Spring, and then summer, maturation, photosynthesis, or melanin production, right? Now, we are just tearing apart and basically exposing and debunking the so-called, Christianity, Islam. Is just to make you sleep. It's just to make you really, put you to sleep, basically. The medulla oblongata is located here. So the font of this picture, I need to find a better resolution here. But the medulla oblongata is here. And the vagus, right, medulla oblongata, and the vagus pass across it. So they make a cross sign. Look at that. The corpus callosum, the temple, the throne, your true self, your inner self, sitting at, right, in the cranium, in the ori, is your inner self. The garden, the cerebellum, leafy, it look like a garden, right? The Garden of Eden, has above, so below. What we have explained earlier when we started this live, we have explained and showed the fable, allegory, astronomical data and phenomena happening in the cosmos, in the solar system. And here we are seeing a correlation with the human body, right? Okay, it is 8 a.m. So thank you so much, everybody. Let me check the chat in case. Let me know if something came up. Someone made a comment or made a request. If I may have missed it, I'm not really good at monitoring the chat while presenting. Okay, we must become the one by being the together. Okay. Okay. No, thank you too. Thank you to you guys. You are the reason why we are here, right? And thank you for the screen that you've been tapping and the live that you've been sharing. It is valued and greatly appreciated. Without your presence, we wouldn't be able to, to do what we do, right? It's all about you in the chat, you listening, you tapping your screen and sharing the live, right? We've been banned or suspended at least for 14 days every month. And I hope it's not going to continue because that trend has been slowing. Thank you for the live goal. Yeah, you see, sister, amazing, man. They are setting life goals for me. They are doing things in the background, downloading the sources, posting them in the Telegram group, without even me asking them to do anything. That's the power of the woman right there. Guys, you guys are really sleeping. I'm sorry, but the guys are sleeping, to be honest. The women are the most active. They are prompt, right? They know when to take action, right? They are proactive. Nothing against the men, but hey, I'm out of word, right? So I can just say thank you, sister. Thank you to all of you. Yeah, so I will be back at 12 p.m. Eastern time, right? 12 p.m. Eastern time during my lunch break, right? And we're going to continue digging into this. So thank you so much, and talk to you in a little bit. All right.